anyway, welcome everyone to our monthly or bi-monthly call. So Leslie, thank you to your organization for letting us use their Zoom, and also thanks so much for being willing to share. So generally sort of our format is we just do a quick sort of round robin, which we can just sort of start with. Here, which we sort of already done, but just to introduce everyone, so you can just sort of say like what you do, what's going on. You can get some sort of update in terms of how, if there's any sort of COVID struggles that you're dealing with. Then Leslie is going to give a presentation on the work that she's doing with American Leprosy Mission, and then we'll have a time for questions. So try and keep it at 15 minutes to an hour. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So I'll just introduce myself. I'm Julianna McMillan-Wilhoit. I'm based just north of Chicago in Skokie, Illinois, and I run my own GIS consulting firm. Started that 7 weeks ago, so it's been an interesting time to now be a small business owner, and I've seen some definite changes within my work and sort of expected projects. But overall, you know, my husband works in public health, and so we will be fine. So we're compensating in terms of hours right now. He's working all the hours, and I'm not. So Leslie, or I guess Leslie, maybe you should go last. So I don't know. I guess I can just sort of call out names. So Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, and sorry for my dark face. The lighting isn't right, but. Yeah, my name's Lauren. I work with a group called LightSys, and basically can help missionaries with mapping issues. Actually, LightSys exists to help missionaries in mission organizations with computer things, but specifically I can help with mapping because I did 30-some years with a group called Global Mapping, helping that. So yeah, actually now I'm playing with civil divisions in Nepal trying to clean data up, which has been a mess. But anyway, yeah, that's me.
Oh, we should talk if you're doing Nepal, because I'm working on a grant in Nepal, Lauren, so we'll have to chat soon.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. So Michael, you sort of introduced yourself, but if you want to give us more of an introduction to who you are.
Sure.
Which Michael are we? Oh, Michael Sutherland or Michael Bishop?
Gotta go. Gee, I almost jumped at that, yeah.
I can be Mikey, I guess. Do you want me to go, Michael Sutherland?
Go right ahead. I'll go after you then.
All right.
With the left.
Yeah, okay. I am the GIS Systems Manager for Samaritan's Purse. Don't know if you're aware of us, but we're a Christian relief organization. Obviously, we do disaster relief, both internationally and locally in the U.S., and so we're heavily involved in responding right now to the COVID crisis. We have a team on the ground in Italy and in the Milan region, and we're also gearing up to respond to places like New York and the Bay Area. We're taking volunteers, and my interest in just being in this group, I won't belabor the point, but just to see if there's interest. We are a little bit short-handed right now, and if so, if you guys know of resources out there that could help with our GIS needs, we're ramping up. We have internal portal, so we're Esri Shop, internal enterprise portal, and ArcGIS Online enterprise account, of course, and we're utilizing that to share data. But I can see there's going to be a great need for analytics around the crisis as we gear up to respond locally in the U.S. We're probably going to have a contingent that goes to New York. Currently, we're taking volunteers of doctors and nurses and trying to determine how to place those resources, those folks in the right spot at the best time. So there's going to be a lot of analytics around how to do that best. We're certainly playing a lot off of Esri and the data that Esri is providing right now through their COVID hub. But we want to build our own analytics and our own hub internally. I guess it's called the site, honestly. So I'm looking for volunteers to help me in the GIS realm because there's not enough of us. There's 5 of us, but that's still not enough because we all have our own different roles and different tasks even now. So if you guys know of people that would love to help us on a volunteer basis, I'd love to hear about that, but I won't speak anymore. But that's us in short.
Well, Michael, thanks so much. I have plenty of time on my hands at the moment. So can you type in the chat your email and I'll reach out to you?
And I work with it's not a Christian group, but it's a volunteer group of GIS people. So they all do volunteer work. So I could set you up with at least how to apply for a request too.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I've reached out to Esri, of course, for their disaster relief program. So we're working with them. But I think the more resources and the more Christian-based resources that we can get, that would be great. We are certainly not short-staffed, but I think just overwhelmed with the amount of requests. We've stood up what we call an IMID, an incident management team that is working around the clock to try to determine how we're going to respond, where we're going to respond. And we're just trying to provide them with the best data so that they can make the decisions that they need to make. And my role is really to keep all the plates in motion because there's a lot of resources that we're using, databases, the portal, of course, all that, and just trying to keep that running smoothly, and then just working on other technical issues. So I don't have a lot of time to help with just the deep dive into the analytics. So if the great need, I think, is if anyone has FME experience and Tableau experience along with GIS experience, because we have all of that as a need. So that's it in short. Sorry about taking so much time there, guys. But
No, that's part of the point of this. So if you could just drop your email in the chat, that would be helpful.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Actually, too, you may want to post all that to the Christian. Yeah, you're a member of the Christian GIS email list. Sorry.
yeah, I think I am. You know, my head's swimming with all kinds of stuff. So if someone can send me the listserv, that would be great.
Let me take a quick. I'll copy you on a post I'll make, and feel free to correct me. Maybe let's do it that way. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
This is Jerry. I just got communication from a consultant that I'm working from that they have put up a hub with US-centric coronavirus related stuff. I just posted in the chat a link to their marketplace page, and the resource is free, at least for the basic dashboard that they put together. The company's called Data Story. They are a Esri, what are they called? Partners, or anyway. And they were featured at the last Esri government get together in, was that February? They were the ones behind the YMCA presentation. Their use of Esri product is through Data Story. So if
They
anyone,
won the Esri Partner Award last year, and
Yeah.
so I love Data Story. They're such a good company.
yeah, that's the ones.
Okay. Yeah, and also I'm just kind of thinking, a team member shared this in my team at work yesterday, but with Johns Hopkins dashboard, which now shows the county level data, so we were able to go and access a feature service for that, something which I've not actually seen put out even in ArcGIS Online at this point. So that data is actually accessible to go and make a map with if you want something more granular than just the state level. I'd be glad to go and share that link for just adding it to a map if you want.
We already are using the data. We're actually, just so you guys know, we're trying to drill even deeper than that because, and we're going to do some analytics around, you know, number of beds, demographics, probably access to healthcare, and who has, you know, who has health insurance, and then if we can get down to cases and locations based on hospital locations, that's going to be better. That's going to be hard to get. We might have field resources that are trying to collect those data points using survey 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. So there's a lot going on, but yeah, thanks for all that feedback, folks. We know of some of those resources. Obviously, we don't know of all of them, so the more help, the better. But yeah, we are aware of that feature service. We are using it already, utilizing it, trying to do, you know, like I said, more full featured analytics. So we're trying to come up really with a methodology, I think, more so to really come up with a better determination that'll be easy to replicate and also be useful for the decision makers, make it easy for them to, you know, comb through the data, because there's a lot of data and a lot of different layers that we could utilize and lay on top of each other, but really that doesn't help people understand, well, where is the greatest need? And if we can come up with a methodology to determine that and really start to nail that a little bit better, that's what we're looking for. So yeah.
One last question. Have you looked at the HSIP, the Homeland Security Infrastructure Program, at their hospital data set? Because that includes the number of beds that are available.
Yeah, we have that data set too. Yeah, that's
okay,
that's all on the Esri hub. Yeah, we absolutely know about most of that data, have seen it, but we're like I said, we're trying to come up with a better methodology and a way to
100%.
nail the cases a little more geographically specific. I mean, county level is fine, but it's not actually that great, because when you get down to New York City, that doesn't really help so much. So, so yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay, well, I guess I can go now then, since since Michael was asked to go first, or was asked to go and then go in between them. So, yeah, a few of you already heard, but my name is Michael Sutherland. I work as a spatial data analyst for a commercial real estate company called CBRE. So we're a global company, but at least for me, nationally, I work more nationally based with us. My main interests in work are more in creating demographic location data for our team. So I'm very interested in, I think, historic demographics. So I've done things such as building out a historic generation data, so and figuring out where people such as millennials or Gen Xers and whatnot have moved over time. I find that change for where people are moving fascinating. Let's see. I've almost been out of school now for 4 years. I went to Penn State University, studied geography there. Love my time there. But I've always loved maps. I also even draw them for fun at this point. I think I first found out about this group a few years back from a friend who was at Penn State at the time. He now works around DC for a consulting firm. I'm a Christian, loves Jesus, loves geography, maps, all that stuff. So I'm glad I can actually finally join one of these calls.
All right, fantastic. So Peter Horn, do you want to introduce yourself?
Julianna, your sound's breaking up for me. I don't know whether it's happening for others.
Peter, I was asking if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Yeah, we're having a hard time understanding you, but I think we're going through. So if you haven't introduced yourself, if you could real quick.
Well, I'm Porter Horn, and I work with Lauren at LightSys, and prior to that, we were both at Global Mapping in Colorado Springs. I retired 2015 and moved back to Florida, which is where I live now. And the current project that is on hold for the moment, but that is a big one, is we are working on building out the capability of supporting church engagement with local immigrant populations using so far primarily census data, which obviously at this point is pretty stale, but we're hoping to have the technology ready to, when we can get our hands on the 2020 census data, to make some really fresh data available to encourage churches to get engaged with immigrants in their neighborhood.
Jerry, do you want to go? You're muted.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Leslie. So I work with the Seventh-day Adventist Church World Headquarters, kind of in a department created GIS shop, not really embraced by the whole church, trying to show the church how it could be beneficial to have a church-wide GIS dashboard that kind of connects our different silos. Just got rebuffed this week when we tried to show them a coronavirus dashboard. And they said, no, that's not in your lane, leave it alone. So I just pulled back. No, I was late joining this meeting because I was on a call with my boss trying to heal our wounds from this little escapade. Anyway, it's always a challenge to help people realize how GIS can assist them with a lot of their needs. And that's all I'll say at this point.
Okay, then since her mic is not working so well, I will just jump into presenting, and I will share my screen with you guys. So I work for American Leprosy Missions, which is in South Carolina, but I work from home in my house in Colorado. We do international work. It's one of the oldest nonprofits. It was started in 1906 by a couple of priests that were working in India. So most of our work was with leprosy. Now we're working with NTDs, which are neglected tropical diseases. So it's really like the poorest of the poor around the world. So I will show you some work I've done in Myanmar as an example, but then I'm going to show you, Jerry, my attempt to take some of our company's spreadsheets and make them more interactive. Since we do have staff all over the world and we have projects all over the world, and trying to know what the travel restrictions are. Some of our staff got caught in a country where they don't necessarily live, but because they were on visas, they can't re-enter. And other staff is where their children are, not necessarily where they live. So trying to keep track of that. So this is just our main website. We have another like subheading under ALM, we call it, called AIM, which is more of the mapping. So this is our website. If you go down, it talks about basically our approaches to figure out where our cases of neglected tropical diseases and of leprosy, which is a neglected tropical disease. Try to map out many diseases so that everybody's not all siloed and going into these very remote places in different groups, but try to make a plan together and then help them implement that plan. So one of those things we've done is shown these maps, and I've already loaded this one. This is all done with R and QGIS, and it's great once it's loaded, but it takes forever to load, and it's not the prettiest. So this is what it is. You can kind of zoom in. I'm sure we could work on layouts and stuff, but there's no pop-ups or anything like that. You can change different layers. And for Myanmar, we have a couple different years of data, and this is just leprosy data. So I'm going to transfer them over into more of Esri, although we do have the problem of Esri costs money. So a lot of ministries of health do not use Esri, they use QGIS, but QGIS is a little more cumbersome to work with, doesn't easily offer all these online tools that Esri is now so good at producing. So this is just a basic map. It has one level of data. You can zoom in. I'm sure you guys have all seen these story maps by now. And then there's some additional data. These are all different indicators that WHO has. So it's kind of cool that you can stay at one area and continue to see what's going on. So I'm not going to open up every single one of these for you guys. But we do have like the new cases for each year against population, and I'm going to change this to population density, but then you can look and see, there more information about the actual individual. And one of the big things that they worry about is the level of disability. So leprosy takes up to 4 years to present itself after you've been infected. And then leprosy doesn't really cause major problems if it's taken care of quickly. If it can be diagnosed, you're given basically antibiotics for about a year and then you're cured. But you have a lot of disability if it goes on for years and years. And there's the stigma of that it's a curse and it's horrible and people get kicked out of their communities. Needless to say, they're not getting help or they try to keep it a secret. So that's a good thing to track to know as ALM goes into villages and areas. It's not just to cure leprosy and to diagnose cases, but it's also to kind of heal the community and the people and teach them that it's an infection and to get people accepted back into their community. So I have a map. I won't open up each of them, but one for each year that are just the same. I also created a dashboard, which is all of these years. So this is kind of very new to them, that you could actually look at all the data. They've just had PDF maps and like that website that I showed you, but this is very simple that you can see what year you can, although I always have problems with this age one. You can filter by age, and then these are disability grades. So now, in 2014, I don't know what age group, it was probably 15 and under, how many cases there were with grade 2 disability. So when you have leprosy cases in people 15 and under, it shows that it's moving through the community. Those are new cases. So that is kind of one of our indicators. So I don't know if anybody has kind of questions on any of that or comments. Okay, then I will keep moving. So I've kind of organized this into groups and locked things down. I'm the only GIS person. We have one other data person. So I can share this and people can share this in presentations. We've just simply made one login that made a viewer and a level of the account for viewers so they can just view it, but I can put things here that I want to share with people. And I've also made up a group now for the wonderful new virus, which lists some of our response maps that I've kind of created there. So I will just quickly show you guys. This is just a simple tab map. One of our things is where is our staff? So you can see these little points around, and I've assigned, let's see, I'll show you that later, but here's me, so I can put my citizenship where I am, just some information that we were taking, and hopefully we can add like prayer requests and stuff like that. And on the back is the Johns Hopkins data. And then we have our projects where we're working. So there, here we have like what's the government's response, travel restrictions, what are the projects we're working on and who's in charge of those, to just kind of see that spatially. And again, these were 2 spreadsheets that we've had, and my bosses have basically said, well, that's really cool, but we're not sure how to use that. So it's still in the process. And then this is a dashboard. So on the left is the Johns Hopkins data, and on the right here is data in the areas we live or work, and it's from Worldometers, which our CEO likes better than the Johns Hopkins or WHO data. So as you zoom in, like if you're in the Africa area, you can see that there's 242 cases with the Johns Hopkins data. We have 5 staff members here. We have an office in Ghana, so that's what's up. And these little coffee mugs say that they're actually in the office because that office is still open. And then there's so many active cases. So instead of looking at the total cases or recovered or deaths, we're actually looking at the active cases because that really affects what we can do and how we can travel. And then I'm going to add a couple more of these tabs, but this is the data that we're using, which unfortunately, according to this data, today we passed Italy for most cases. And then I had the Johns Hopkins data. I also created this just a very simple tab, so hopefully people could update their information. Let's see if it will work. So I can go in here and use my drop down, and if I want to say I'm on vacation, then that becomes on vacation. It feeds back to all the other maps. So I'm hoping to do that so we can keep track of people. They can also move their points to if they're someplace else in the world. And so that's about all that I was going to share, but the Esri group could not join us, Mark and Emily. And so they have asked, I'm trying to put this in here. They have asked that I share, I cannot, there we go. They've asked that I share some links to you guys. So I'm going to put those in the chat. Oh, I don't know. It's okay. So we'll have to email the links because they've, excuse me?
I think you have to stop sharing for us to see the chat.
Yeah, I was just trying to cut and paste, but they embedded the links instead of listing them out. So we'll have to share it through email because it just took off all the links. But I will show you, you guys probably know about this, but I told them that I would show you guys real quick. The hub, so these are all the links that you'll get. Talking about their solutions that they have released. Let's see. And I don't know if you guys have watched this, but there is a little video where they kind of go through of how to deploy the solutions, which was nice. And then a longer version of how to deploy things. And then another, yeah, there's a lot of resources that they have out on smart mapping. And this one I really like. This is from Kenneth Field, who is one of their wonderful cartographers. And so this is a great write-up of what not to do and how to be responsible. And then, I don't know if you guys have seen these go around. I think they have them for every county in the US now. And then how to create your own, more of those. And this is the age and vulnerability. I'm trying to see under my camera. And then something about education. And finally about the Johns Hopkins map that got kind of hacked into malware. So I will email those out to you guys, or so you have all those links. But does anybody have any questions? I kind of went quickly because I think that we're more interested in what's going on now than the leprosy.
I do have a comment. This is Michael. Sorry to jump in over whoever that was. Good. It looks great. Really like the story map. I've always liked that. What is it? The tabbed format that works pretty well. But I did want to mention. Do you guys know about, especially in Myanmar, Burma, the Free Burma Rangers? Have you guys heard of the Free Burma Rangers? I know. What's his name? I can't think of his name. Just had a movie come out. It's really interesting. He's an ex-Army Ranger missionary that works with the Karen people mainly in Myanmar, and has raised up a whole bunch of locals that are really helping the displaced IDP folks in Burma and the things that they're going through. He kind of talks about himself as the last mile person, where I guess I should look at my webcam here. Sorry about that. He works with the last mile, meaning that, between the folks that are like us that respond up to the war zone, and then there's the war zone, and then there's the people that are affected in the war zone. He's in that last mile where he's in the war zone. Being an ex-Army Ranger, you can understand that he understands the consequences and has a lot of experience in that arena. He's been there for 25 years, maybe 30 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. But he's somebody to look up. Free Burma Rangers, really interesting. I did some GIS stuff for them way back when. It's kind of become a little stale, but and they now have taken Free Burma Rangers and helped people in Iraq too. So they're an interesting group just to check out and see what they're doing in Burma.
Yeah, I'm probably getting a grant where we're going to do a project that's in Myanmar, Nepal, and Tanzania, looking at clustering of leprosy cases to try to. It's difficult because it takes so long for cases to show symptoms. So to try to be a little proactive about it. So I might actually be able to travel there for a while. Anybody else?
Just wondering, the ArcGIS Online is pretty much for internal use at the American Leprosy Mission, I see. Is that?
So yeah, I didn't talk about that. So what we're hoping to do is share this map, probably make two different versions, one with the point data off, but then we can put this in our website. We're also and still need to work with the country, but the dashboard, trying to make that so that the country has access. So we're thinking of creating a user for each country so that they can access just their data. But it would all stay in our ArcGIS Online account because we're the ones that are doing the mapping for them. There's been a lot of talk about everybody would really like to get trained so they can do their own, but then we run into problems with open source versus you have to pay a fee. Esri is so simple to put things in ArcGIS Online. QGIS takes a little bit more work. People want to do, a 1 week workshop and be able to do all their own maps and take care of it and have it very, very low cost. So we're trying to figure out how we can go about doing that. And in some places, Myanmar is one of them, one person really kind of took off and has been doing a lot of mapping. We're still assisting them with cleaning up the data and doing some of those things. But they're actually doing a lot of mapping themselves because they want to see different things together. So I'm kind of excited about showing them the ArcGIS Online, and then it also, they could make more interactive maps too. But the rest of it right now is behind just for ALM staff. And that's mostly because a lot of the countries that we work with haven't given us permission to share their data in any maps. And also it was really all in queue. So we're just starting to move it over into Esri products.
Leslie, I would like to chime in. So I think it'd be good if I talk to you more one-on-one, because we can learn about each other's frustrations at trying to introduce GIS to our organization. But on the Esri platform, you're using ArcGIS Online, not Enterprise?
Yeah, so is Enterprise portal? Is
yeah,
that
so
yeah.
ArcGIS Online, if you host it yourself, it's called Enterprise or Portal. And,
yeah, so we're using just regular online because we don't have servers.
Oh, okay. So just a plug for everybody. Peter Holtzman was working on a blanket thing, and I haven't heard an update in a while. I don't know if Lauren knows anything more than I do, but Esri was willing to provide some very generous resources for a particular faith group consortium, and it would be under that consortium. And so there would be some possibility of maybe standing up our own enterprise system, which has unlimited viewers. And I guess that's the point I'd like to make. If you have your own enterprise system as a nonprofit, you have unlimited viewers, and you have 50 editors at the $2,000 cost for the enterprise. You can add more on top of that, but it's a little bit of cash up front. It might be worth looking into. I don't know. It does require a little bit of know-how to stand it up. But if there are some faith-based GIS people who, for a very minimal fee, would help your organization set it up.
And just so you guys know, from Samaritan's Purse, obviously we're a nonprofit, and so we have taken advantage of the Esri nonprofit program. And like the gentleman, I'm sorry I missed your name, that just mentioned, Jerry, I guess it is, Jerry just mentioned, it is very minimal, and it's amazing. We pay $10,000 for ours, and we have 3 licenses for enterprise. That means we can have dev, test, and production. So we're implementing that currently, dev, test, and production. We have production portal internally. If anybody needs help with understanding how that goes, we can certainly, help with understanding how that works. But for that $10,000, we get about everything that you could ever think of or dream of. And I've worked in the public sector before, and those licenses, I worked at a local government, and we paid over $150,000 for that same level of, not even the same level of licensing. It didn't even compare, honestly. So I would say we're getting over, in the private sector, it would be over $250,000 worth of software from Esri for about $10,000. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they are very good with nonprofit and response and all kinds of things. So yeah, I think ALM, we have 3 licenses right now, so we pay $300 a year. So
crazy good.
So does anybody else have any other questions? I think our fearless leader had to jump off, it looks like. And anybody want to volunteer to present next time around? I think we do this every 2 months. Are you nodding yes, Lauren? Because
yes,
you're lying to present, or what?
I appreciate just this happened, because Michael, thanks for just sharing the needs there at Samaritan's Purse. That was great just to hear.
Lauren, how's Pete doing?
I'm sorry?
How's Pete Holtzman doing?
Yeah, he's actually probably in better shape than ever. Pete Holtzman's died twice physically. He's kind of the Silicon Valley guy who just really is active helping with missions, Michael, or if you folks don't know Pete, but he has a great heart to help Christian organizations. And last year he had a stroke or heart stoppage, and yet again he got resurrected. Anyway, he's doing real good. Thanks for asking, Porter. Yeah, and Jerry, I think Pete tends to have his hands in lots of different places, so I think
yeah,
happy idea in mind, but he's kind of running around in different places. Anyway, it's there, but I think there's other things. I haven't even heard what he's been doing with his coronavirus stuff. That he may be in all kinds of different directions now. But anyway, yeah. So I think the interest is still there, but it would take probably some time. Yeah. Does that help? Yeah, I can't think of. Thanks for sharing, Leslie, too, because it was neat to see what you're doing a lot there, as I see.
Yeah, I don't know if I went too fast. I was worried that we wanted to talk about a lot more stuff. So.
And you're recording this too. That's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Mark asked if we could record it so he could watch it. So
yeah. So Leslie, I just want to say you went through it quickly, but I think most of us don't need a lot of explanation. We see something, we understand what it means. And it's just nice to see other people utilizing the resources. I thank you for comparing QGIS. I've used QGIS very little. And so I wasn't aware that it had online capability.
Well, it kind of does and kind of doesn't. It's like,
So what does that mean? Kind of does and kind of
well,
doesn't?
and I
Because-
haven't done this. So this was something I inherited from a consultant. So I'm the first GIS person working for American Leprosy Missions. We've hired consultants in the past to do it, basically tropical disease people. So in the public health sector. So she took QGIS and then used R to create the code. And then you publish the code on your website, basically. And so it doesn't load and interact in the browser. You're downloading all the code for everything, and then you can view it within your browser, if that makes sense.
Okay. So it's almost like just
literally
viewing
takes 5 minutes to download.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But on the other side, you can take that code and whatever you do with it, you don't have to be online. You know, so if you're totally offline, it works. But so there's good and bad. And we're trying to go through that now, what makes sense. I think at the least for our website, we should have Esri because we don't have that problem and it looks nicer. But when we do workshops and trainings in countries, maybe we'll have to teach Q, or maybe we're going to teach ArcGIS online and we propagate all of the data and clean it and all of that stuff, and then they can just consume it and use it as they want to. So we're trying to work through all of that and figure out what's the best. It's probably different for every country.
So as far as your leadership, understanding, and applicability of GIS, what have been the things that have moved it along?
Our company, even though it's like really quite an old company, is very big into innovation. For example, we're working on a vaccine for leprosy. Well, our folks at Cambridge who are working on this have put that aside and now are looking for a vaccine or treatment for the pandemic. So it's like they are very good at shifting gears. They do a lot of kind of lean experiments. So if something's not going to take a lot of money or time, go ahead and do it and let's see if it works. It doesn't have to be perfect, which they keep, when I started, kept talking about this, and I'm like, this is GIS. Like, this is what we do. We figure out something and we make it work, and it's evolving and changing all along. So it's been actually really great for them to be working with them, and they're really excited because, you know, they saw that Johns Hopkins dashboard, which I think will do amazing things for GIS in general. And so when I showed them the Miramar one, they're like, oh, okay, we get that. We understand that. That's awesome. And I'm explaining this is what we need, the data we need, and why we need point data. And these are the important things. And then that creates a much better understanding when they're trying to go and get the data, what to collect. So it's been amazing with them. But that's within something that they consider mapping in GIS. But if you take something like, where are our staff members and what are travel restrictions? To me, those are all location-based things, right? But they're wanting to look at it on a spreadsheet. So trying to show them that and then see what they feel comfortable using. So, but I've been blessed. They're a wonderful company that, you know, I'm the first GIS person. The problem is that I'm kind of by myself working on these things, and they don't understand how long it takes to clean up data and those kind of things. So, which is true all the time. You know, what did they ask me? They asked me the biggest thing, like, you know, when we're collecting data for these countries, what is the first thing we should do? You know, how should we get the countries ready? I'm like, well, you need to make sure that the names and the boundaries and the names in the census and the names in the patient files, those names all need to line up of, you know, the regions and districts, because you have to join them. And that was a big thing for them to try to understand why that's so important. But it's been really great. And so all the GIS people laugh as soon as you say that.
Oh yeah, the machine will just intuit it.
They just don't understand. Yeah, yeah.
I'm-
And trying to explain to them that if it takes 3 weeks to get census data, that I can't calculate the indicators. You know, if we don't have population under 15, I can't tell you the percent of people under 15 and things like that. And we can't move forward. That's one of the biggest things. Like, you can't just come back to it. It's like you have to do it in steps. And if you miss a step, you have to go back and kind of restart over sometimes. So.
Yeah, I'm basically a database guy, not a map guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Being able to join tables.
Yeah. And I mean, they're dealing with it. They have pieces of paper that have this stuff written down, or they have patient logs in hospitals that they're going through and trying to read the writing and convert that over to digital. So, I mean, it's like there's so many steps. And they do a great job, but it's been really fun to work with them and present things. And I think with the pandemic, it has really assisted them with an understanding, because everything is Esri that's out there, really, at least that I've seen. So did we not get any volunteers for next time around? Does anybody have anything?
Well, that's okay. I think we have, there's a few
Yeah.
potential. Yeah, and we have 2 months to, yeah, and I think people are probably busy now. They're looking at meetings, but that's okay. Yeah, and worst case, I can do it, but I'd rather have other folks do it. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
and we have,
if Michael Bishop gets done with, if things calm down, it'd be awesome to see what you guys were doing.
Yeah, thanks for suggesting that. I didn't want to actually volunteer because I'm feeling like I'm going to be busy in 2 months, honestly.
Well, maybe 4.
Yeah, maybe 4. Maybe 4 would be better. I'll volunteer for 4. That's fine, but not 2. I can't do that. I think just knowing what's going to happen. Hey, if I can address the QGIS question a little bit, because I have a little bit of understanding in the open source world. I don't know if you guys are aware of OSGeo. That's the open source geospatial community. And they do a pretty good job of helping you understand what the different products are that might be sort of analogous to Esri. And QGIS is really considered analogous to ArcMap. So it would be like a desktop application that you would use to do data manipulation, analysis, that sort of thing. It's not really a web serving application, although I think it has some capabilities there. So if you go to that OSGeo site, I'm just looking at it right now, and underneath projects, there's a projects link there that it shows you the different open source tools for like web mapping, and then geospatial libraries, and then of course spatial databases, which you guys probably know, PostGIS or PostgreSQL. Those are sort of the open source tools that are out there. And we sort of have a mix and match in Samaritan Spurs. We say we're an Esri shop, but we have our enterprise deployment, the portal, on Linux servers, and we use Postgres as our backend database. So we try to be as open source as we can, but we still utilize, industry leading tools because we have the resources to pay for that sort of thing too. But in a lot of ways, we're becoming more and more open source too. So if anybody has open source questions around geospatial tools, I know enough to kind of be dangerous, but I can answer some of those if people want to know. But yeah, QGIS is really more analogous to ArcGIS Desktop if you think about it like that. So I don't know if that helps, but again, I'll volunteer for 4 months from now. That's fine.
Okay, it would be awesome to see what you guys were doing. So. So we didn't really have much except for that one, or I guess there's 3 maps online, but when I'm coming on now, I'm using ArcGIS Online. So it's going more that way. So there's also a shift between us going in and providing PDF maps versus something that's interactive. So it's a big shift in how we're doing things, but it might be nice to find out what you guys are doing at some point. So I will bug you, Michael.
Okay.
So this is Jerry again. I don't know if this would be of interest to the group, but I've taken a deep dive into psychographics. So this is the market segmentation used by most companies to pick what neighborhoods to mail which flyers to.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my interest has been how to use this in order to understand our communities that we're serving. So it has to do not only with their typical demographics of age, gender, income, and that kind of thing, but also has to do with more of a psychological perspective of the people in the community. And I have not personally applied it, but I've done a lot of reading about how to apply it. And I have a dashboard that was created by Data Story for that particular purpose. And this is also the company that's behind what FaithX presented in their presentation at user conference. A couple of us were at least at that particular presentation. And I'd be glad to speak on that and a few other things that I've done to try to help our administration think about, I guess, mostly evangelistic and service orientation of churches. Pleasure. Thank you, Leslie.
Well, thank you guys all for joining.